Alright, so if your reading comprehension is greater than a 5-year-old, you can read the title of the video and you know exactly what we're doing here. So I looked up NHL rivalries on Google, and I've basically mixed and matched NHL players on their rivalry teams. So basically, we're only going to be focusing on the best players in the entire game. I've went through the entire roster and I've put them on their rivalry teams. Some teams have multiple rivalries, so some are split between 2 different teams. So I've went through and mixed and matched the entire league. So basically, the league is entirely different, and we're going to simulate along and see who dominates the hockey world over the next 5 seasons. But first, let's check out the teams and how different they are. So as you can see, the Calgary Flames have guys like Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Quinn Hughes. Buffalo has William Nylander and Morgan Riley. The Boston Bruins, they have John Tavares, Ryan O'Reilly, Hampus Lindholm, Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield. Anaheim is going to have Erik Karlsson from the San Jose Sharks. The Toronto Maple Leafs are going to have David Pastrnak, Tage Thompson, Rasmus Dahlin, Brady Tkachuk, because Toronto has a lot of rivalries, so I basically just mixed and matched, put a bunch of them on different teams. Tampa Bay is going to have Matthew Tkachuk and Alexander Barkov, also Aaron Ekblad. The San Jose Sharks are going to have the cover man, Trevor Zegras. The Pittsburgh Penguins are going to have Bo Horvat, Alex Ovechkin. Philly is going to get Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin, also Nico Hischier. The Ottawa Senators are going to pick up Mitch Marner. The New York Rangers are going to get guys like Jack Hughes, Dougie Hamilton, Matthew Barzal. The Islanders are going to have Chris Letang, Mika Zibanejad. Also, I have swapped the 2 New York goalies, so Igor Shesterkin is on the Islanders and Ilya Sorokin is on the Rangers. The Devils are going to have guys like Patrick Kane, Artemi Panarin, Sean Couturier. The Montreal Canadiens got a major overhaul. They picked up Matthews, Marchand, McAvoy, and Bergeron, so they are a completely different team. The LA Kings are going to get guys like Jack Eichel and Mark Stone, also Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Florida is going to have Nikita Kucherov, Victor Hedman, and Steven Stamkos. They will also have Vasi in the net, and I put Sergei Bobrovsky on the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Edmonton Oilers are going to have Drew Doughty, Elias Lindholm, Anze Kopitar. The Red Wings are going to get Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar, 2 absolute studs. The Dallas Stars are going to pick up Gabriel Landeskog and Devon Taves. Colorado is going to get Jason Robertson and Miro Heiskanen. Chicago is going to have Kirill Kaprizov, Jordan Kyrou, Pavel Buchnevich. Alright, now that we have an idea of what the league actually looks like now after I mixed and matched the entire NHL, let's simulate along and see who dominates over the next 5 seasons in the NHL. If you guys enjoy videos like this, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I post pretty much every second day. Now let's get into the video. At the end of year number 1, the Calgary Flames are going to end up finishing first in the NHL, going 51, 28, and 3, followed by the Philadelphia Flyers, who had 49 wins. Colorado was up there. Carolina had 45, Boston, Toronto. Surprisingly, the Edmonton Oilers were up there. Montreal, Florida, Vegas. At the bottom of the NHL, we have the St. Louis Blues, the Chicago Blackhawks, the Red Wings. Wow, the Red Wings? So you're telling me if we added Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar to the Red Wings, they're going to finish bottom 3 in the entire NHL? Connor McDavid is going to lead the entire NHL in points with 103, followed by Mikko Rantanen's 89, Patrick Kane 88, Leon Draisaitl 88. Your mom's a hoe, Sebastian Aho had 86, McKinnon had 85, Scheifele 85, Evgeny Malkin 83, and Pasta 83. For goals, Patrick Kane is going to have the most at 55, followed by Mikko Rantanen's 50, Malkin had 47, Pastrnak had 44, Cooch 44, Cat 43, Matthews 42, Eichel 41, and Ovi would have 40. For defenseman, Miro Heiskanen on the Colorado Avalanche is going to have the most points. Actually, he was tied with Adam Fox. They would each have 70 apiece, followed by Charlie McAvoy 69, Cale Makar 68, Victor Hedman 68, Erik Karlsson 65, Rasmus Dahlin 61. Ilya Samsonov is going to have the most wins in the NHL with 43, followed by Carter Hart's 39, Vanacek 38, Georgiev had 37, Allmark 37, Connor Hellebuck 36, Demko 36. For shutouts, it's going to be a 3-way tie between Carter Hart, Ilya Samsonov, and Thatcher Demko. They would each have 7 apiece. Montembeault, Freddie Anderson, and Sorokin would each have 6. And this is our playoff matchups in year number 1. We have Montreal and Toronto in round number 1, Boston and Florida. That'll be good as well. And in the Stanley Cup final, we have the Edmonton Oilers versus the Columbus Blue Jackets. Edmonton is actually really surprising to me, and Columbus, I don't think I ever touched them, to be honest. because they don't really have any good rivalries in the NHL. But I mean, I guess let's go on and see who's going to win the Stanley Cup in year number 1. And in year number 1, the Edmonton Oilers are going to go on and win the Stanley Cup as they sweep the Columbus Blue Jackets in the Stanley Cup final. It was not even close. Edmonton was by far the best team in the finals, and a team with Drew Doughty, Anze Kopitar, Elias Lindholm, all those players, but not Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. They are going to go on and win the Stanley Cup in their very first year together. And there it is, Lord Stanley, baby. And here comes the captain, Zach Hyman, coming to lift the Stanley Cup for the Oilers for the very first time in his career. And in year number 1, the Edmonton Oilers are going to take home the Stanley Cup with guys like Drew Doughty, Anze Kopitar. There he is, Drew Doughty, the Conn Smythe winner, lifting the Stanley Cup for the 3rd time in his career. Home of the 5th line, shout out to Rogers Place. David Pastrnak is going to have the most goals at 11 and the most points at 21 in the entire playoffs, followed by Roslovic's 21, Zach Hyman had 21, Johnny Hockey 20, Elias Lindholm 19, Marchenko had 19, Ken Johnson 19. I guess the Columbus Blue Jackets just had all 4 lines firing on all cylinders because they have a rookie having 7 goals and 12 assists for 19 points in the playoffs. Connor McDavid is going to take home the Ted Lindsay, the Art Ross, and the Hart Trophy, while Patrick Kane is going to take home the Maurice Richard. Miro Heiskanen is going to win the Norris Trophy. Your Mom's a Ho is going to win the Lady Byng. Zach Hyman is going to take home the Conn Smythe. Thatcher Demko is going to win the Vezina, and Sean Couturier is going to take home the Selke. At the end of year number 2, the Florida Panthers are going to finish first in the NHL, going 53, 20, and 9, followed by the Colorado Avalanche, who had 54 wins. New Jersey had 51, Carolina 49, Toronto, Calgary was up there, Seattle, Dallas, and Vancouver. At the bottom of the NHL, yet again, the Red Wings. This time they are the worst team in the entire NHL, followed by the New York Islanders, the San Jose Sharks, and the Winnipeg Jets. Steven Stamkos is actually going to lead the entire NHL in points with 100, followed by David Pastrnak, who had 95. Nikita Kucherov had 95. McDavid had 94. Matthews 89. Oh my god, Austin Matthews was a minus 19. Alex Ovechkin had 89. Leon Draisaitl 89. Jack Eichel 88. And Svechnikov 87. For goals, Matthews is going to have the most at 45, followed by Mikko Rantanen's 44. Pasta had 43. Ovi 43. Svechnikov at 41. Kucherov 41. Stammer had 40. Besser at 39. For defensemen, yet again, Miro Heiskanen is going to have the most points. Again, I think he had 75 last season. I'm not sure, but he had 75 this season. Followed by Roman Josi 72. Quinn Hughes 70. Rasmus Dahlin 68. Victor Hedman 65. Adam Fox 64. Cale Makar 63. The most goals by a defenseman was Seth Jones, I guess, at 17. Him and Tyson Barrie each had 17 apiece. For goalies, Georgiev is going to have the most wins at 47, followed by Vasi's 45, Vanacek 41, Tristan Jarry had 39, Allmark 39, Hellebuck 39, Freddie Anderson at 37. Linus Allmark is going to have the most shutouts in the NHL at 10. He had 10 shutouts in 73 games. Holy shit. Followed by Ilya Sorokin's 9, Tristan Jarry 7, Korpisalo 7, Vanacek 6, Demko 6. And in the Stanley Cup final, we have the Colorado Avalanche versus the Philadelphia Flyers. Sidney Crosby and Malkin have basically carried Philly all the way here. And Colorado, man, I'm starting to think that EA just favors Colorado hard because they basically got downgraded, let's be honest. But regardless, who is going to go on and take home the Stanley Cup in year number 2? Sidney Crosby and the Philadelphia Flyers are going to go on and win the Stanley Cup as they beat Colorado in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. I can imagine Crosby and Malkin absolutely carried because this Flyers team is not very good. And Sidney Crosby is going to take home the Conn Smythe for the Philadelphia Flyers. That just looks terrible on him. He does not belong in a Philadelphia Flyers uniform whatsoever, man. There it is, the Stanley Cup being raised in Philadelphia. They almost had a chance in 2010 if it wasn't for Patrick Kane. And here comes the captain, Sid the Kid, baby, 35 years old, coming to lift the Stanley Cup for the 4th time in his NHL career. First time on the Flyers, and in his 2nd season, he's gonna take home the Stanley Cup and the Conn Smythe. Just a natural born winner. And there's his partner in crime, Evgeny Malkin, also lifting the Stanley Cup for the 4th time in his career. First time on the Flyers, obviously, but the duo strikes again, winning another Stanley Cup. For the playoffs, Dylan Larkin is going to have the most points at 26, followed by Sidney Crosby's 25, Jason Robertson 23, Miro Heiskanen 23, Rantanen 22, Nico Hischier had 20, Cole Caulfield had 19, Malkin 18, and Johnny T 17. Steven Stamkos is going to take home the Ted Lindsay, the Art Ross, and the Hart Trophy, while Austin Matthews is going to take home the Maurice Richard. Miro Heiskanen Heiskanen is yet again going to take home the Norris. The lady being the Kucherov. Andrei Vasilevsky is going to win the Vezina. And Alexander Barkov is going to take home the Selke. At the end of year number 3, the Pittsburgh Penguins are going to end up finishing first in the NHL, going 54, 24, and 4. Followed by the Montreal Canadiens, the Winnipeg Jets, the Calgary Flames, the Capitals, the Rangers, the Flyers were up there defending champs. At the bottom of the NHL, we have the Seattle Kraken, the Arizona Coyotes, and the Edmonton Oilers. So Edmonton has absolutely fallen off a cliff after winning the Stanley Cup in year number 1. Alexander Ovechkin is going to lead the entire NHL in points with 107, followed by David Pasternak's 105, Austin Matthews at 89, Jake Gensel 89, Brad Marchand 88, Kucherov 88, the GOAT Nathan MacKinnon had 86, Leon Draisaitl 86, Patrick Laine 83. For goals, Pasta is going to have the most at 53, followed by Ovi's 49, Laine at 47, Marchand 46, Nikita Kucherov at 45, Patrick Kane 44, Mikko Rantanen have 40, Matthews 40. For defenseman, John Carlson's going to have the most points at 79, followed by Charlie McAvoy 75, Erik Karlsson 74, Cale Makar 66, Quinn Hughes at 63, Drew Doughty 63, Victor Hedman 62. Jake Ottinger is going to have the most wins by any goalie with 41, followed by Connor Hellebuck's 40, Darcy Kemper 37, Allmark 37, Bobrovsky was up there with 36, Tristan Jarry, Vasi, Markstrom, Cam Talbot. For shutouts, UC Saros is going to have the most. Actually, he was tied. Both him and Jacob Markstrom would each have 7 apiece. Ilya Sorokin and Fleury and Craig Anderson would have 6. Peter Mrazek would have 5. Igor had 5. And in year 3, this is our playoff matchups. And in the Stanley Cup final, we have the LA Kings versus the Montreal Canadiens. Will Austin Matthews get his first Stanley Cup of his career, or is he going to choke in the biggest moment of his life, the Stanley Cup finals? And the LA Kings are going to go on and win the Stanley Cup as they beat Montreal in 6 games in the Stanley Cup final. A team led by Mark Stone, Jack Eichel, and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins are going to win the Stanley Cup in year number 3. I gotta be honest, I did not see LA winning in the simulation. Mark Stone is going to take home the Conn Smythe for the LA Kings. He is their captain and most likely their best player on the team, maybe Jack Eichel. And here comes the captain of the LA Kings, Mark Stone, coming to lift the Stanley Cup for the 2nd time in his career. And the LA Kings somehow are actually Stanley Cup champions in year number 3. There he is, Mr. Neck Surgery, Jack Eichel, lifting the Stanley Cup for the 2nd time in his career. Him and Mark Stone won it with Vegas, and now they win one with LA as well. For the playoffs, Brad Marchand is going to have the most points at 31, followed by Austin Matthews 28, Charlie McAvoy 24, Kirby Dach had 21, Mark Stone 20, Eichel 20, Tyler Seguin had 19, and Bergeron would have 19 as well. For goals, Tyler Seguin is actually going to have the most goals. He had 14 goals in 15 games in the playoffs, followed by Brad Marchand's 12, Austin Matthews 11, Gurianov had 9, and Bergeron would have 8. David Pastrnak is going to take home the Ted Lindsay, the Maurice Richard, and the Hart Trophy, while Alex Ovechkin is going to take home the Art Ross. Charlie McAvoy is going to win the Norris. Ilya Sorokin is going to take home the Vezina, and Alexander Barkov yet again is going to win the Selke. At the end of year number 4, the Calgary Flames are going to end up finishing first in the NHL, going 55, 20, and 7, followed by the Florida Panthers, who had 54 wins, the New York Islanders, the Red Wings, the Devils, the Minnesota Wild, the Capitals. At the bottom of the NHL, we have the Arizona Coyotes, the Philadelphia Flyers, who just won the Stanley Cup 2 years ago, the Boston Bruins, the Columbus Blue Jackets, and the Vegas Golden Knights. But it seems like there's some sort of Stanley Cup curse going on here. For teams that win the Stanley Cup afterwards, they fall off a goddamn cliff. Leon Draisaitl is going to lead the NHL in points with 109, followed by Connor McDavid's 102. Kyle Connor had 95, William Nylander 89, Austin Matthews 87, Brad Marchand 85, Mikko Rantanen had 83, Goodrow 82, and Kaprizov 80. For goals, Matthews is going to have the most at 52, followed by Leon Draisaitl's 45, Kyle Connor 43, McKinnon 40, Jeff Skinner had 38, Pasta would have 38, Jordan Eberle had 37 goals, Kucherov would have 36, and Barkov 35. For defensemen, Quinn Hughes is going to have the most points at 78, followed by Cale Makar 70, Pietrangelo had 67, Victor Hedman had 66, Adam Fox 64. Adam Fox has been surprisingly really quiet in the simulation. Chris Letang had 61, Dahlin 58. For goalies, Vasi's going to have the most wins at 43, followed by Igor Shesterkin's 41, Connor Hellebuck 40, Ville Husso at 39, Bobrovsky 37, Vanacek 36, Samsonov 36. Vasi would also have the most shutouts shoutouts at 11. He's 100% going to win the Vezina. Mrazek would have 6, Hellebuck 6, UC Saros 6, and Marc-Andre Fleury 6. And in the Stanley Cup final, we have the Chicago Blackhawks versus the Florida Panthers, who is going to go on and win the Stanley Cup in year number 4. And the Florida Panthers are going to go on and win the Stanley Cup as they beat the Chicago Blackhawks in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup final. Stamkos, Kucherov, Hedman, and Vasi are all going to win their 4th Stanley Cup, actually their 3rd Stanley Cup of their career. This was basically the Tampa Bay Panthers, let's be honest. The best players were from Tampa, and Steven Stamkos is going to go on and win the Conn Smythe for the Florida Panthers, although he's not their captain, which is weird. And there it is, for the first time ever, Lord Stanley being raised. Well, technically it's in Chicago, but for the Florida Panthers, you get my point. And here comes the assistant captain, Nikita Kucherov, coming to lift the Stanley Cup for the 3rd time in his career, first as a Florida Panther, and in year number 4, the Florida Panthers are Stanley Cup champions. Gotta be honest, I have no idea how. For the playoffs, Kirill Kaprizov and Stamkos would each have 24 apiece, leading the NHL, followed by Nikita Kucherov's 23, Buchnevich 22, Draisaitl 21, Kyle Connor 16, Sam Bennett 16, Reinhart 15, and Tyler Johnson 15. For goals, Kuch had the most at 12, followed by Buchnevich's 10, Kaprizov 9, and Stammer 9. Leon Draisaitl is going to win the Ted Lindsay, the Art Ross, and the Hart Trophy, while yet again Matthews is going to take home the Maurice Richard. Quinn Hughes is going to win the Norris, the Lady Bing the Dry. Steven Stamkos is going to take home the Conn Smythe. Vasi is going to win the Vezina. And yet again, Alexander Barkov is going to win the Selke. At the end of year number 5, the Calgary Flames are yet again going to finish first in the NHL, this time going 56, 20, and 6, followed by the Montreal Canadiens, who had 52 wins. Florida had 53 wins. Tampa Bay, Vegas, Anaheim. The Red Wings are finally good. Colorado, the Rangers, and Toronto. At the bottom of the NHL, we have the Capitals, the Coyotes, and the Bruins. Connor McDavid is going to absolutely light the league on fire, leading in goals with 58 and points with 138, followed by Nikita Kucherov's 93, Leon Draisaitl 92, Johnny Hockey 92, Patrick Kane had 91, Matthews 90, Pasta would have 90, Panarin 88, and Marner 86. For goals, other than McDavid, it was Matthews who had 49, Kucherov 49, Kaprizov 44, Patrick Kane 42, Alex Ovechkin 40, Jacob Vrana had 39. Victor Hedman is going to have the most points by a defender with 85, followed by Quinn Hughes' 84, Adam Fox 72, Rasmus Dahlin had 69, Drew Doughty 69, John Carlson 68, Roman Josi 68. For goalies, Vasi's yet again going to have the most wins, this time with 46, followed by Hellebuck's 43, Bob had 43, John Gibson 42, Georgiev 39, Samsonov 37. For shutouts, it's going to be a 3-way tie between Vasi, Demko, and Robin Leonard. They would each have 7 apiece, followed by Bob, Korpisalo, and Saros. They would each have 6 apiece. And in the Stanley Cup final, we have Colorado versus Florida, who is going to go on and win the Stanley Cup in year number 5. Will Florida go back-to-back, or is Colorado going to get their 2nd Stanley Cup of the simulation? No, I don't believe they won. They just made a Stanley Cup final. And the Florida Panthers have gone back-to-back as they beat the Colorado Avalanche in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup final. I believe 3 of the Stanley Cup finals in this simulation have all gone to Game 7, so we've had pretty competitive finals. Victor Hedman is going to take home the Conn Smythe for the Florida Panthers. He's their big number 1 D-man. Pause. But he is overall very valuable to Florida, or to Tampa Bay. And yet again, here comes Nikita Kucherov coming to lift the Stanley Cup for the 4th time in his career, 2 with Tampa and now 2 with Florida. All 4 Stanley Cups have been won in the state of Florida though, as the Florida Panthers have gone back-to-back in year number 5. In the playoffs, Connor McDavid is going to have the most points at 31, followed by Leon Draisaitl's 26, Miro Heiskanen 26, Mikko Rantanen had 24, Kucherov 24, Robertson 24, Stammer 22. For goals, Mikko Rantanen is going to have the most at 13, followed by Draisaitl's 11, Kucherov 11, McDavid 10, Crosby 10, Kyle Connor 10. Connor McDavid is going to take home the Ted Lindsay, the Maurice Richard, the Art Ross, and the Hart Trophy, a clean sweep on all the individual awards. Quinn Hughes is going to take home the Norris. Vasi yet again is going to win the Vezina, and Alexander Barkov yet again is going to take home the Selke. And that is going to do it for this video, boys. Connor McDavid is haunting me in a Calgary Flames uniform. It just does not look right whatsoever. Overall, though, Florida was the only team to go back-to-back, and we had 3 Game 7s in the Stanley Cup final. So overall, the league was very competitive. Let me know in the comments what you would like to see next, and thank you all for watching. Until next time, don't be silly. wrap your willy.